Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and today we're going to talk about the sexy topic of version control in game development. Because game development and version control haven't always gotten along great. We're going to go through all the major popular options out there right now, and then we're going to talk about a brand new free and open source option specifically designed with game development in mind. All right, so version control, basically it's a way of backing up your project, rolling back changes, working as a group, that kind of thing. And Git is probably the one you know, probably because of GitHub. The thing is, Git has never really been a great fit for game development because Git is more about source code and a little bit less about large binary files. It doesn't perform exceptionally well with large files. They have added things like large file system support, so LFS, as well as chunking support, but Git, again, out of the box was not a good fit for game development projects, even though, thanks to GitHub, it is probably the most popular option out there. Now, another option that we've got, going back for a very long time, is SVN, or Subversion. This is an Apache project. This one did handle binaries better than Git did, so I know people back in the day used to use Subversion over Git for, multimedia or mixed media projects like this. I don't actually have a lot of experience with Subversion, to be honest, but this is another free and open source option out there. Another one out there is Diversion. Now, Diversion, I know literally nothing about. I know it's more cloud-based. I know it's aimed at, again, handling file systems and so on, specifically, even for games, specifically. So, one definitely to look into. The big thing about Diversion, apparently, is the cloudedness of it. Again, Diversion, I'm adding it mostly for inclusion. I have no experience with it, but this one is specifically aimed at game developers as well. It is a commercial project, however, as is this. Now, this is Unity version control. Once upon a time, this was known as Plastic, SCM, and it was another version control system specifically designed for handling the problems that game developers face. Unity have purchased it. They have now rebranded it as Unity version control, although you can use it without Unity. I don't know how well they have supported non-Unity projects going forward with it, though. I haven't used Unity version control since it was Plastic anyways. And then we have Perforce. And let's be honest, Perforce is probably the biggest player out there in this space. It's also commercial, and ironically enough, I think this is the version control system that Epic Games used internally. They actually list them as a customer. It's kind of funny. They actually list a number of customers here, including like Unity, who now own Plastic SCM. And apparently they were also at the Unreal Fest, or the State of Unreal, there as a sponsor, which is a little awkward because of this. Sorry, not this, but I want to show you also, Perforce does have a free version control available that you can start with, but look, Epic Games was supposed as one of their global teams that have chosen it. By the way, it's not called Perforce anymore. Technically, it's, yes, it is Perforce again. So it was called Perforce, then they've renamed it to Helix Core, and now apparently they call it Perforce P4 again. All right. But the other one we now have is Lore. Now, Lore is Epic Games created this. They just announced it at the State of Unreal. This is previously the version control system underneath UEFN. Well, it still is, but it used to be called UEFN something or other. So basically, this is built out of a source system that they actually created for UEFN, but now it is actually being more widely spread. Now, the key thing about it is this is MIT licensed, open source, and completely and utterly free. You can also check it out for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We're going to get back here in a second. They've got a breakdown of why, and I think that's a big, good question. Compared to all the ones we just talked about a minute ago, why would you choose to use Lore over them? And we'll get back to their description in a sec, but let's do a quick hands-on of how easy it is to get up and going. Now, I've actually already done an install, so that's one thing to be aware of. There is a OneScript PowerShell install for this thing. I've already done that. So then once you've done that, run it, Lore server. That's it. Then I'll dump a big thing of text in your face, like so, and it is up and running. Now I'm going to fire up another PowerShell, like so. And let's go into my temp folder because that's where all things happen. And now we're going to go ahead and demo how it works. So first things first, we want to go ahead and verify that our server is in fact running. So we're basically going to ping it with the URL of health check, and boom, content 200, everything is a-okay. All right, we're good to go. Now we need a repository or something to work with. What I'm going to do is just use an existing one. I'm going to clone down this. This is Usagi. If you're interested, I've also said that wrong apparently, but it is a new 2D framework. I did a video about it a couple weeks ago. I just picked it because it's got source code available, super simple to work with. So let's go into that folder like this. Let's clear our screen out like so. And now we're going to go ahead and create a repository. That is done by going lore, repository, create, and then you use the URL format of lore. And this runs by default local host, like local server, but you can put this obviously in the cloud, in something like S3, wherever you want it to be. But this is just the default demo mode local install. So go ahead, create our repository called Usagi. Now we need to go ahead and update it. So I have an existing directory, everything you see here. So what I'm going to do is basically say lore, dirty, current directory. All right, so we got everything we want to go up. Now we're going to go ahead and stage it, lore, stage, current directory. So now you see there are 110 directories added, 329 files. Now we're going to do, just to show you, lore status scan. And there are all of the files that have been added that have not been committed yet. So they're all ready to go. Now to send those up, lore commit, and then your commit message, already married, like so. And then boom, the commit is done. And then now what we want to do is push to the server, like so. And then let's do an update. And what you're going to notice, now there is nothing. So that is how easy it is to get everything out. So now if you're working with it, so let's go back here, Victor temp2, cd temp2. All right, so now if you want to go ahead and use this, what you do is just go lore repository, like so, clone, lore, / then localhost loopback 127.0.0.1. Default, again, is port 41377. And we are going to clone down Usagi. Boom, this pulls our repository down. This is just like git cloning, except transport error. Okay, 1 second. All right, no idea, just ran it again, seemingly worked. So I don't know what just happened. By the way, where are these things actually stored server-wise? You're going to notice if you go into your project, there is a hidden directory there for .lore. That is where your local things are all resolved. And then in terms of the actual file system, where this stores it by default, obviously you could specify this when you set things up, but they are available here at in your temp folder. So let's just open up my temp folder here. So there you see temp directory, so app data local temp. You'll find lore server, and then there everything is in these subdirectories broken down and so on. So that's where the files by default are stored. You're probably going to do a server install if you're working with a team as opposed to locally, but that is where they are locally under temp, lore server, and so on. Again, you could obviously specify that. Now, if you want to go back and list out what your repositories are, we just go lore repository list lore : / 127.1 41337, and this will give us a list of all of the repositories that are there, such as Usagi. And then if I want, by the way, for the same thing, there is also this available. This is the lore desktop client. They do provide binaries of this already built. By the way, if you're interested, all the source code for this behind the scenes is actually using Rust. So you can use this to open an existing local repository. So I could go into my temp folder there, Usagi, and open that one up, and then it'll bring it in, and you can clone, delete, and so on. Or you could create repositories using this desktop like so. You can also go ahead and connect to a remote URL if you have one. So there is a management client available. So that then leads us to the question of why the heck did Epic Games spend the time, money, resources, and effort to develop an open source repository system? And well, the best way to find out is to go and read their documentation. Motivations: why a new VCS? Now this is in some depth. I'm not going to read all of it because, well, there's a lot here. But basically, lore exists because no widely deployed version control system combines the properties demanded by largest active deployment workloads, arbitrary content types, multi-access scale, multi-tenant safety, a public version specification, a permissive open source license. Motivation is not that prior systems are bad. They are mature and excellent at what they were designed for, but none of them were designed for the union of constraints lore targets. So it is built to handle content agnostic, very large files on every axis, and centrally coordinated. So why don't they just use an existing system such as Git, Perforce, or Mecurial, which I totally forgot to mention earlier? Well, Git, it's basically aimed at, they break it down, so they got in-depth of each version, why they didn't go with it. Git, a lot of it was like they're improving and they're handling things like multi-gigabyte file systems and so on with the addition of things like LFS and so on, but they're not treated as first-class content. So Git was very text-focused. It doesn't handle a lot of the things that they want to work with well. Perforce, on the other hand, requires round trips for normal operations, opening a file for edit, listing, changes, syncing. Offline work is possible, but awkward. Reconciliation out of band changes is a manual process. Storage is delta encoded RCS for text and full files. For binaries, native deduplication is limited to lazy copies, and so on. Plus, the protocol is proprietary, which forecloses third-party re-implementation. In terms of Mecurial, it's mostly that text remains the primary citizen, and it's focused around that, and so on. You can go through their whole details right here. So why? What gap is lore technically filling? It offers that prior art does not is the union, so it's a combination of things that all these other systems already implement. Content addressed integrity, centralized server of record durability, sparse and lazy data fetching at every granularity, fragment level deduplication that is effective on a multi-gigabyte binary as on a kilobyte of text, multi-tenant isolation by design, and a publicly specified wire and storage format. Each of these exists somewhere in the prior art. No production system combines all of them. Equally important, lore is open source under the MIT license. Combinations of these properties under a permissive license is what makes lore worth building rather than working around the gaps in something that already exists. They got their design goals for it here, what they're going for, and so on with it. Are all right there if you want to dig into a little bit more of the details behind lore. I don't have enough experience with all these various different version control systems to say lore is better or worse or anything. Lore is early. That's one of those things to be aware of. Very important. You go to the repository, you will find this warning right here. Lore is pre 1.0 and under active development. Interfaces on disk formats and APIs may change between releases. So something you want to be aware of right there. So it is open source. It is under the MIT license. It is, again, very new. It already has 3.5 thousand stars. In terms of releases, there is one release available. It is 0.8.3. The installation script, you can see it's right here for PowerShell or here for Bash. And then on top of that, they do have binaries available, Windows and Mac and Linux for the desktop client, which we saw in action earlier on. It's pretty bare bones at this point in time, but if you want to go ahead and check it out, lore is available. In terms of the website, lore is available at lore.org, which will bring you right here. There is documentation to get you up and going, so there's a quick start tutorial on creating a repository, connecting to it, adding something, and so on. And then, of course, we got a reference, so if you want to go through command line, all the command line repository commands are here. Everything is documented there in terms of like our quick little demo earlier on. And then on top of that, you will find there are APIs available here as well. I don't know where they went, but there's APIs available for C#, JavaScript, and Go, I believe it was. So if you want to implement this into your own project or create your own terminal or whatever you wish, you can. Those are available for you as well. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Lore, a new version control system specifically for game development, at least game development workflows. Let me know what you think. Have you used one of these other systems and you prefer it, or otherwise, are you looking for an alternative? Nice thing is, if you're using Perforce or Plastic / Unity source control or whatever the hell they call it, you may have something to save you some money in the future. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.